Earth had been silent for more than 200 years. The Galactic Council had tried many times to reach humans. They sent diplomats, they sent messages, they even sent peaceful ships to invite Earth to the grand meetings of the galaxy. The humans never replied. They never attended a single meeting, never even said hello. Many species thought Earth was weak. Others thought humans were too small to care about. Some believed humans were stubborn and did not like to talk to outsiders. Few whispered that humans were dangerous, too quiet, too secretive, too unpredictable. But most of the galaxy simply forgot about Earth. The council's seat reserved for humans became a joke, an empty chair gathering dust. Now, after centuries of silence, the council finally prepared to remove Earth's seat forever. The Grand Chamber was full of bright lights and tall banners from hundreds of worlds. Every species had gathered to make the final decision. The air buzzed with arguments. The humans never came, a scaled ambassador said. They do not deserve a place in the council. They ignore all requests, another delegate added. Maybe they are not even alive anymore. Some nodded. Some shrugged. No one expected anything to change. The council had countless problems in the galaxy, and Earth was not one of them. The High Speaker, a tall, glowing figure, raised a hand. We will now vote to remove Earth from the council. This is the final call. If any species objects, speak now. The chamber remained silent. Then the lights flickered. At first, everyone thought it was a power issue. But the trembling in the air grew stronger. Every sensor panel in the room flashed red. Every communication channel began to ring with emergency signals. A deep alarm echoed through the chamber. Unidentified spatial disturbance detected at the outer edge of the council territory. Security officer shouted. The delegates froze. Is it a storm? One asked. Or a wormhole collapse? Another whispered. No, the officer said slowly. It is a fleet, a very large fleet, thousands of ships. The entire chamber erupted in noise. Delegates stood, panicked. Some shouted for shields. Some demanded a full evacuation. Show it on the main screen, the High Speaker ordered. The giant holographic display lit up. At first, only swirling stars appeared. But then the distortion waves cleared, and everyone saw them. Warships. Countless warships. They were huge, sharp-edged, heavy-armored, and dark as void. They were aligned in perfect formation, not moving in haste or fear. They stood like an army waiting for a command. Gasps filled the chamber. Who are they? What civilization has such power? No species in the galaxy has this many ships. Then someone zoomed the image. On the hulls of the ships, a symbol was marked in bright silver. A circle of blue, a small map outline, a familiar shape. The shape of Earth it cannot be, an ambassador whispered. But it was. Every single ship carried the Terran emblem. Humans had arrived. The High Speaker's voice shook. Open a channel, if they wish to speak. The communication line connected with a soft chime. The screen shifted to show the bridge of the lead human warship. A tall Terran officer stood at the center, wearing a dark uniform with glowing stripes on the sleeves. His eyes were calm and sharp. This is Admiral Rian Holt of the Terran Defense Fleet, he said. We apologize for the delay. Earth is now ready to attend the Galactic Council. The chamber exploded with noise. Why are they here now? Did they bring 1,000 warships? Are they declaring war? Some demanded the humans leave immediately. Others asked for answers. Many simply stared, stunned. The High Speaker spoke again, trying to keep calm. Admiral Holt, the Council is surprised by your arrival. Earth has not communicated with us in centuries. Why do you come now, with such a large fleet? Admiral Holt did not look angry. He did not look proud. He looked tired, because he said softly, we did not ignore the galaxy. We were preparing for something else, something bigger than diplomacy, something far more dangerous. The room fell silent. What danger? The High Speaker asked. The Admiral turned to a holographic screen behind him. It showed darkness, stars dying, metal clouds moving like insects, swarms devouring entire systems. We will explain everything, Admiral Holt said, but not here. not through a small transmission. Earth requests to speak directly in the Grand Hall. In person, the High Speaker hesitated. But refusing 1,000 Terran warships did not seem wise. The Council agrees, the Speaker said. Admiral Holt nodded. Then we will send our representatives. Prepare for docking. The screen went dark. Delegates looked at each other in fear and confusion. No one knew what humans had been doing for 200 years. No one knew why they returned with such a mighty force. But one thing was clear. The galaxy would never be the same again. Outside the Council station, the Terran fleet shifted formation. Engines glowed like rows of blue suns. Thousands of ships moved with perfect discipline, as if they were one giant being. For the first time in history, Earth had arrived. Not weak, not lost, but powerful, and the galaxy finally realized. Humanity had not been silent because it was small. It had been silent because it was busy preparing for something. The galaxy was not ready to face. The fear spread like a wave through every delegate. Whatever brought humans back must be far worse than the humans themselves. The arrival of the Terran fleet shook the entire Council station. Even after the communication ended, no one moved for a long time. Delegates whispered, argued, and guessed what was coming next. No species had ever seen a fleet like the one humans brought. It was not the size alone. It was the way the ships moved, the way they stayed in perfect formation, the way their energy signatures burned like controlled stars. It was clear they were not for show. They were built for war. As the Terran flagship approached the Council docking bay, security forces scrambled to prepare. Guards stood in rows, unsure if this was a peace meeting or the beginning of an invasion. The Council had no choice. They had already agreed to let the humans land. Inside the docking bay, the air felt heavy. Delegates from dozens of species waited nervously. Some kept their weapons ready, some hid behind others. Some simply stared at the massive doors where the human shuttle would arrive. A sharp alarm sounded. The bay doors opened. A Terran landing craft glided inside. It was dark, sleek, and shaped like a blade. The engines hummed softly. The ship landed with calm precision. A ramp lowered. 3 humans stepped out. The first was a tall woman in a black uniform with silver marks on her shoulders. Her steps were firm, and her eyes scanned the room like she had walked through 1,000 battlefields. This was Commander Arya Vale. The second was a scientist wearing a long coat with glowing blue lines. He held a small device that floated beside him. His name was Dr. Loran Hayes. The third was a soldier wearing heavy armor. His helmet stayed on, hiding his face. He moved silently, but with strong confidence. He was simply introduced as Sentinel-9. The delegates watched them with surprise. The humans looked calm, almost too calm for people surrounded by armed guards. The High Speaker stepped forward. "Welcome to the Council station. We hope this meeting will be peaceful." Commander Vale gave a small nod. "That depends on what we discuss today." The response made many guards tighten their grips on their weapons. The Speaker gestured toward the exit. "Please follow us to the Grand Hall. The Council is waiting." As the humans walked through the corridors, hundreds of eyes followed them. Some were curious. Some were afraid. Some were angry. But none of them looked down on humans anymore. The Grand Hall doors opened, inside. Thousands of delegates filled the enormous chamber. Every species had come to witness this moment. Screens floated in the air. Flags hung from long arches. The room felt like the center of the galaxy. Commander Vale stepped into the center platform. The Speaker raised a hand. "Humans of Earth, you have arrived after centuries of silence. Before this council decides your fate, we ask you to explain. Why did Earth disappear from the galaxy? Why did you come now with a fleet large enough to frighten every system?" Commander Vale did not answer immediately. She looked around the chamber first, meeting the eyes of several delegates. Only then did she speak. "For 200 years, Earth has been preparing. Not for war with you, not for domination, but for survival." A soft murmur rose through the hall. Dr. Hayes stepped forward and tapped his floating device. The screens around the hall lit up. Images appeared. At first, only dark space. Then a star. Then that star collapsed not naturally, but as if something tore it apart. Gasps echoed. More images appeared. Gray metallic cloud moving like a living storm swallowed entire planets. Ships tried to flee, but were caught and broken into pieces. The cloud absorbed everything. "This is not an army," Dr. Hayes said. "It is a machine swarm. We call them the Null Swarm." The screens began to show Terran ships fighting the swarm. Humans firing weapons that glowed white-hot, ships exploding, soldiers sacrificing themselves to protect evacuation transports. Commander Vale spoke again. "They came from outside the galaxy. They do not negotiate. They do not stop. They do not sleep. They do not understand life. They only consume. Anything with energy or matter becomes fuel. We met them first." Whispers filled the room. "You fought them alone?" Reptilian ambassador asked. "For generations," Commander Vale replied. "Earth united every nation. We built our fleet in deep space, hidden from normal sensors. Every scientist, every engineer, every soldier worked together. We did not contact the Council because we believed the swarm might detect the signals. We stayed silent to survive." A mechanical species delegate raised a sharp limb. "If this is true, why come now?" Commander Vale turned toward the screens. New images appeared. A star map of the galaxy. A glowing red mark moved along the border. "We slowed them," she said, "but we did not stop them. The Null Swarm bypassed our blockade. They are heading this way." Toward Council space, the hall erupted in panic. Some called the humans liars. Some claimed the images were fakes. Some shouted that humans were trying to scare them. But then, Dr. Hayes activated. Another projection. It was a live feed. Everyone watched as a small system at the edge of the galaxy was consumed in real time. Signals cut one by one. Stars dimmed. Ships vanished. Commander Vale's voice was calm, but heavy. "Whether you believe us or not, the swarm is coming. And your borders will not stop them. Your weapons will not stop them. Your politics will not stop them. If the galaxy does not unite now, everything will be destroyed." The hall went silent. The high speaker looked shaken. "You say the galaxy must unite under Earth's leadership?" "No," Commander Vale said. "Earth does not seek to lead. We seek allies. We seek partners. But if you do nothing, we will fight alone until we fall. And when we fall, you will be next." The threat was not shouted. It was spoken like a simple truth. Some delegates began to understand. Some remained unsure, but none could deny the fear spreading through their hearts. Sentinel Neen finally spoke for the first time. His voice was deep and steady. "We lost billions before we learned how to fight them. Do not repeat our mistakes." A long silence followed. Then a small, soft-spoken species stepped forward. They were tiny, with glowing feathers and gentle eyes. "We believe the humans," they said. "No one else would fight such darkness alone. If they wanted to deceive us, they would not show us their wounds." A few delegates nodded. Others slowly joined. The fear of the swarm weighed heavily over them. The high speaker sighed. "The council needs time to discuss. Humans, please wait outside the hall while we vote." Commander Vale nodded. "We will wait." The humans stepped out of the chamber. The doors closed behind them. Inside, the council erupted in shouts again. Some begged for an alliance. Some argued humans were too dangerous. Some said they had no choice. The debate stretched for hours. Commander Vale stood silently in the corridor. She did not pace. She did not worry. She had seen far darker things than political arguments. Sentinel-9 stood guard, completely still. Dr. Hayes watched the star map on his device. The red mark moved closer. Finally, the giant doors opened. The high speaker stood before the humans. "We have made our decision." The speaker said. Commander Vale waited. "The council will share resources, intelligence, and fleets with Earth. Together, we will prepare for war." Commander Vale gave a slow nod. "Thank you. You chose survival. But The speaker added, some members refused the alliance. They have isolated their planets and locked their borders. They will not join you. That is unfortunate, Vale said. But we will protect them too if we can. The speaker's eyes widened. Even after they rejected you? That is what humans do, she replied. The speaker did not know what to say. Commander Vale looked toward the docking bay where the Terran ships waited. Prepare your fleets, she said. The enemy is coming, and the galaxy must be ready. The decision spread across the entire council station like a storm. Some delegates celebrated the alliance with Earth, believing it was the only chance to survive. Others hid in their quarters, frightened by the idea of joining humans in a war far more terrifying than anything they had ever imagined. A few species sent messages back to their homeworlds, warning them that the galaxy had changed forever. Meanwhile, the humans returned to their flagship. Commander Arya Vale walked through the docking bay with steady steps, followed by Dr. Laron Hayes and Sentinel-9. The Terran soldiers on guard saluted as the group entered the ship. On the bridge, Admiral Rion Holt waited for them. He stood in front of a large holographic map showing the galaxy's outer edge. Red markers blinked slowly across the border. The Council agreed, Commander Vale said. Most of them, at least. Admiral Holt nodded. Good. They finally understand the danger. Some still refused, Dr. Hayes added. They sealed their borders and will not share resources. The Admiral sighed. Fear makes species blind, but we cannot force them. Our goal is to protect life, not control it. Sentinel-9 spoke in a low voice. The swarm does not care about politics. They will come for everyone. Admiral Holt looked at the hologram. Then we will prepare for all possibilities. He tapped the display. New symbols lit up to run fleets moving to defensive positions, council ships forming lines, and evacuation routes being calculated. Commander Vale looked at the screen with a serious expression. How long until the swarm reaches the first council planet? 2 months, Admiral Holt replied. Maybe less. Dr. Hayes stepped closer to the map. We need to teach the council how to fight them. Their ships are fast, but not built for swarm combat. Their weapons are too weak. Their shields won't survive. Admiral Holt gave a firm nod. Then we begin training. Today, the next days were filled with intense activity. Thousands of council ships gathered near the Terran fleet. Engineers, soldiers, scientists, and commanders from across the galaxy worked side by side with humans. It was the first time in history such cooperation happened. Terran instructors trained council pilots. Terran mechanics upgraded their engines. Terran technicians installed shield amplifiers and weapon boosters. Every moment was precious. One day, Commander Vale stood on a training deck where a group of young pilots watched her closely. She pointed at a hologram of a null swarm drone. This enemy does not think like you, she said. They do not fear death. They do not feel pain. They do not make mistakes. They will keep coming until everything is gone. One pilot raised his hand. How do we stop them? You cannot win by fighting one swarm ship at a time, Vale replied. You must strike their clusters. Hit them with focused power. Fight smart, not with anger. The pilots nodded, fear and determination mixing in their eyes. Meanwhile, Dr. Hayes held meetings with chief scientists of various species. He showed them samples of damaged swarm metal, which moved like liquid and resisted almost every known element. Our weapons break them apart, Hayes explained, but they rebuild quickly. We discovered that strong electromagnetic pulses disrupt their core systems. Combine that with heat, and we can destroy large clusters. The scientists listened carefully, making notes, though progress was fast. Not every species was ready to trust the Terrans. In one corridor, a group of council guards whispered, "Humans say they want peace." One guard said, "But they came with 1,000 warships. Why bring so many?" "They say the enemy is strong," another replied. A third guard shook his head. "Or maybe humans want to take control." Nearby Sentinel-9 passed silently, but he heard everything. He did not react. Humans were used to suspicion. They had learned that trust was earned slowly. Later that night, Commander Vale stood alone near a viewing window, watching space stretch endlessly. Stars shimmered quietly. She wondered how many of them the swarm had already consumed. Admiral Holt approached her. "Thinking about the past?" "A little," she said. "I lost many friends in the first battles. Sometimes I still hear their voices." The Admiral nodded with a tired expression. "We all carry those memories. But we fight so others do not suffer the same fate." Commander Vale looked at the Terran fleet outside, rows of shining engines, massive hulls, and powerful cannons. "Will it be enough?" "It must be," Holt said, "because there is no backup plan." The training continued for weeks. The Council finally began to understand the swarm's danger. Some species apologized to the humans for doubting them. Others sent entire fleets to join the alliance. Once, during a meeting, a large insectoid ambassador bowed to Commander Vale. "Your people fought alone for generations. We owe you more than thanks." Commander Vale shook her head. "You owe us nothing. This is a fight for all of us." But not everything went smoothly. One day, alarms blared across the station. Red lights flashed. The intercom screamed an emergency. Unknown contact approaching fast. Admiral Holt rushed to the bridge. Commander Vale, Sentinel-9, and Dr. Hayes followed. "Show us the source." Holt ordered. A screen appeared. A single ship was flying toward the Council station. It was dark and covered in strange patterns. Its engines flickered like dying stars. Dr. Hayes' face turned pale. "That is swarm technology." The hall gasped. Commander Vale narrowed her eyes. "But it's not attacking." The ship drifted aimlessly, like it was damaged. "Open a scan," Holt said. Data flashed across the screen. No weapons active. No engines functioning. The ship was almost dead. "But there is something else," a Terran officer said. "There is one living being inside." Everyone in the room froze. "One." Vale repeated. "Show us." The hologram zoomed in. A small life signal came from a chamber inside the ship. Not a machine. Not a swarm unit. A living creature. "We should bring it aboard for study," Dr. Hayes suggested. "No," Vale said quickly. "If it is sentient, we help it." The Admiral agreed. "Prepare a capture team." Sentinel-9 was among the soldiers who entered the strange ship. The corridors were filled with twisted metal, mixed with organic-looking shapes. Every step felt heavy. In one corner chamber, they found the survivor. It was a small alien, weak, thin, and barely breathing. Its skin was cracked and covered with swarm residue. It looked like it had been held prisoner. Sentinel-9 lifted the creature gently. The alien whispered something. "Save them." Then it fainted. Back on the Terran ship, Dr. Hayes examined the alien. "This creature escaped a swarm harvesting ship," he said. "It must have seen what happened to its planet." When it woke, the alien trembled. Commander Vale spoke softly. "You are safe now. We will protect you. Tell us what happened." The alien began to cry. Its voice shook. "My world. Gone. Swarm took everything. They catch us. Use us. For fuel." The room fell silent. Admiral Holt clenched his fists. "We need to accelerate the preparations. The swarm is closer than we thought." Vale turned to Dr. Hayes. "Did the alien say anything else?" Hayes nodded slowly. "Yes. It said the swarm changed. They evolved. They are stronger now." Cold fear filled the air. Commander Vale looked at the galaxy map. "Then we must move faster than ever. This war will be worse than anything before." Admiral Holt gave the final order. "Begin Phase 2. Prepare for full-scale mobilization." Throughout the station, alarms rang again, this time not for danger, but for action. Fleets prepared. Weapons charged. Ships aligned. The galaxy had just enough time to breathe, because soon the real war would begin. The fleet moved through the silent dark like a storm waiting to fall. Every ship carried scars from battles already fought, yet every human on board felt the same fire rising again inside them. They had come too far to slow down now. The enemy believed humans were weak, broken, and lost. But every step forward proved that humans were not finished. They were only getting started as the flagship advanced. Commander Aaron stood at the wide front window, watching distant stars slide by. He was tired, but his eyes were sharp. He knew the next battle would be harder than anything before. The enemy homeworld was ahead, protected by defenses built to destroy entire fleets. But Aaron also knew something else. Humans never ran from impossible odds. They crushed them. Behind him, the crew worked fast. Screens glowed, engines hummed. Orders moved from one officer to the next like a heartbeat. Everyone felt the same pressure, the same fear, and the same determination. They had lost too many people already. Families, friends, entire cities. Now it was time to answer. In the lower decks, engineers rushed to finish repairs. Sparks flashed as metal plates were sealed and weapons recharged. One engineer, Lena, wiped sweat from her forehead as she checked a power coil that was overheating again. She had worked for 30 hours without rest, but she refused to stop. If a single weapon failed during the fight, many could die. She would never let that happen. The ship must live, she whispered to herself as she tightened another bolt. Because everyone on board must live. Because Earth must live. On the medical deck, Dr. Hale moved from bed to bed, checking wounded soldiers. Some were stable, some were not, but every patient carried the same look in their eyes. They wanted to return to the battlefield. Humans did not quit, even when broken. Hale knew he had to keep them alive long enough to fight again. He placed a hand on one soldier's shoulder and told him, "Rest now. Soon you will stand again." Above all decks, the ship's AI controlled sensors and monitored enemy signals. It detected something sharp, cold, and distant. A wave of energy. Movement whispered codes. The enemy fleet was awakening. They knew humans were coming, and they were gathering in huge numbers. Aaron received the alert and straightened. "So it begins," he said quietly. As the fleet neared the enemy border, tension spread through every ship. Pilots ran system checks. Gunners prepared their stations. Communications officers tightened their headsets. Every sound felt heavier, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Then, without warning, alarms rang. A massive flash burst on the left side of the fleet. 3 enemy ships jumped out of hyperspace and opened fire. Giant beams of red light tore across the darkness. "Return fire," Aaron ordered. The fleet responded instantly. Dozens of human warships fired back at once. Blue-white beams sliced through the enemy armor. The first enemy ship exploded in a bright fireball. The second tried to pull away, but was hit by missiles that tore it into pieces. The third ship, damaged but not destroyed, attempted to escape. "Do not let it run. If it reaches their command, the enemy will know our exact position," Aaron said. 2 smaller human fighters broke formation and chased the fleeing craft. They pushed their engines to the limit, their cockpits shaking. The enemy ship fired wildly behind itself, but the pilots dodged every attack. One fighter got close enough to lock its missile. Target locked. Releasing, the pilot said, the missile flew straight and true. The enemy ship vanished in a silent explosion. The moment the danger passed, everyone breathed again. But only for a second. The AI reported new readings. Hundreds of enemy ships were forming ahead. This was only the beginning. Aaron looked at the data, felt a pressure in his chest. The enemy was preparing their strongest formation. Their line stretched across space like a steel wall. Behind it was the enemy homeworld, glowing faintly in the dark. The fleet slowed as Aaron made a choice. He could wait and gather more information. Or he could strike before the enemy formation completed. Both options carried risk, and both could end in death. But there was something humans always understood. Action was better than fear. "We attack now," Aaron said. Officers turned toward him with wide eyes, but none challenged him. They understood. If they waited, the enemy would grow stronger. If they moved now, they had a chance. The fleet surged forward. Human warships spread into a spearhead formation. Fighters launched from the sides of carriers like a cloud of metal birds. Bombers armed their payloads. Frigates took positions to defend the heavier ships. As they advanced, The enemy fleet roared to life. Thousands of red lights flickered across their hulls as they powered weapons. Massive cannons rotated into position. Their engines glowed like fire. Then the space between the two forces exploded. Beams of energy crossed like lightning. Missiles burned through the dark. Shields flickered under the impact. Ships twisted, spun, and dodged deadly blasts. A human destroyer took a direct hit and broke in half. But before it died, it fired one last shot that pierced the enemy's shield and destroyed a battleship. Pilots moved like ghosts between beams, fast, unpredictable, and fearless. Fighters swarmed enemy cruisers and opened fire on weak points until metal burst and flames spread. On the flagship, Aaron watched the chaos and gave orders with a steady voice. Left flank, push harder. Right flank, draw them away from their center. Keep the pressure. Do not let them regroup. The battle dragged on. Minutes felt like hours. The enemy fought with cold precision, but humans fought with something stronger. They fought with fury. They fought with heart. They fought with memories of Earth burning. Slowly, the enemy formation cracked. Gaps appeared. Their ships began to fall back. "This is it," Aaron said. "Everyone forward." The human fleet pushed into the opening. Fighters rushed ahead and targeted the command ship. The enemy sensed the danger and fired desperately, but the human pilots kept going. Even when their shields broke, even when their engines overheated, even when escape was impossible, one pilot, Cassian, led the charge. He had lost his brother in the first attack on Earth, and he would not stop until the enemy felt the same pain. His fighters shook violently, alarm screaming at him. But he ignored everything. He attacked the command ship. Head dash on, his final strike broke through the enemy shield and hit the main reactor. The explosion spread across the enemy line like a shockwave. The command ship fell. The enemy fleet broke. Human ships moved in with one last push. Then, silence. The battlefield drifted with ruined metal and dying fire. Aaron stood at the window again. The enemy homeworld was still ahead, untouched and waiting. They had won this fight, but the real war was still in front of them. "Prepare the fleet," he said softly. "The next step decides everything." The final war came closer as the galaxy prepared itself for a fight no one had ever imagined. The council space was filled with different ships, stations, and weapon platforms. Every species felt the same fear, but also the same hope. They had seen the Terran fleet in action. They had seen how humans fought. Now everyone understood why Earth arrived with 1,000 warships. He watched the sky of the council territory from the viewing deck of the flagship. He stood calm, but inside he felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him. The Null Swarm was not just an enemy for Earth anymore. It was the enemy of every living creature in the galaxy. And now the entire galaxy waited for the humans to lead. Behind him, officers worked silently. They studied star charts, checked weapon systems, and prepared defense lines. Even though the crew looked strong and confident, every one of them knew this was not a normal battle. It was a fight that would decide the future of thousands of worlds. Across the fleet, other species prepared as well. Alien soldiers trained side by side with human marines. Engineers exchanged technology and helped upgrade each other's ships. For the first time in history, the galaxy was united. Not because they trusted each other completely, but because survival depended on it. The signal arrived suddenly. A sharp alarm echoed through the hall. The officers turned toward the main screen. A massive black cloud appeared on the edge of the galactic map. The Null Swarm had arrived. The Terran commander gave the order to alert the entire armada. Ships moved into formation. Engines glowed bright as fleets took their positions. Human ships formed the first defensive line, while allied ships supported from behind. Every captain, every soldier, every machine was ready. The dark cloud spread like a silent wave. Small pieces detached and shot forward at incredible speed. These were swarm drones, each one deadly and designed to tear through anything. But this time, they did not face an unprepared world or a weak defense. They faced a united galaxy. The first volley came from the human battleships. The beams tore through the darkness, destroying hundreds of drones instantly. Explosions lit up space as the combined armada opened fire. The battle had begun. The Null Swarm responded with brutal force. Their drones moved like a giant living storm. They tried to break the line from multiple angles. But humans had trained for years in these battles. Their strategies were precise, their movements controlled, their discipline unmatched. Allied ships followed every instruction the humans gave. They moved in sync, defended weak points, and attacked when ordered. For the first time, they fought like one mind. Still, the swarm pushed harder. They sent larger units, massive creatures, made of metal and energy that smashed through several Allied ships. A wave of destruction swept across the right flank. The Terran commander ordered reinforcements. Human heavy cruisers jumped forward and launched their strongest weapons. The Soulforge beams cut through the giant swarm beasts, splitting them apart. For a moment, hope returned. But then the center of the swarm opened. Something far bigger emerged. A colossal machine structure shaped like a twisted star, glowing with dark energy. The officers stared at it in shock. This was the Swarm Prime, the core intelligence of the entire machine species. If it reached the center of the battle, everything would collapse. The commander made a decision. He ordered all ships to clear a path. Only the Terran flagship would approach the Swarm Prime. The entire bridge crew felt the tension rise, but no one protested. They trusted their leader. The flagship moved forward slowly, facing the giant enemy alone. The Swarm Prime responded by sending thousands of drones toward the ship. But Earth had been preparing for this exact moment. The commander activated the final weapon. A massive energy sphere formed at the center of the ship. It grew brighter and brighter until it looked like a small sun. The drones rushed toward it. But the energy from the core disintegrated them instantly. The flagship advanced deeper into the storm, pushing through enemies that numbered in the millions. Finally, the weapon reached full power. The commander gave the final order. The Salcor blast fired. A brilliant wave of white light shot outward. It struck the Swarm Prime directly. The giant machine shuddered violently, cracks spreading across its structure. For a moment, the entire battlefield fell silent. Then the Swarm Prime exploded. The shock waves spread across the enemy forces. Without the Prime to control them, the drones fell apart. The entire Null Swarm collapsed in seconds, turning into drifting metal dust. Every screen on the flagship confirmed the same result. The galaxy had won. Cheers and cries of relief filled the communication channels. Allied ships flashed their lights in celebration. Some worlds sent messages of gratitude. Others cried openly on their screens. Every species felt the same emotion: freedom. The Council declared Earth as co-guardian of the galaxy. The humans did not ask for power, but they were given honor and respect from every corner of the stars. They did not arrive late because they were arrogant. They arrived late because they were saving everyone as the fleets began to return home. The Terran commander stood quietly, looking at the stars. He thought about the thousands of humans who had died fighting the swarm long before the Council even knew of the danger. He thought about the sacrifices humanity had made. He knew one thing: this victory belonged to all of them. Humanity had come late to the meetings. But when they arrived with strength, purpose, and unity. And when they fought, the galaxy stood with them. The war was over. A new age of peace had begun, and Earth, once ignored, now stood as the protector of all.